Hey y'all, today we got Strait live, and as you can see, I got nobody sitting next to me. So the reason why I got nobody sitting next to me is, Brian's got work, and he's probably going to be out for the next couple weeks. But and he's tagging in, say 7:02. He's on the chat, so you guys can give him crud on there. While people are getting logged on, I just want to update people. Crappie Closet will be having a tournament the 19th. That is not this Saturday, but next Saturday out of Berryessa, Pleasure Cove. Hit up Crappie Closet. You can go on Instagram or Facebook and look for this symbol right here. And that has all the information that's on there. And all the rules and stipulations and all that stuff. If you have more than that, you can always hit him up, hit Marlon up on that. That is, again, the 19th, next Saturday. Also, I don't know, One Bass was today. Clear Lake One Bass was today. There was 31 bags over 25 pounds. 10th place has 28 pounds or something like that. I forgot how many over 30 there were. I was actually going to look that up real quick. Just ridiculous. 38 pounds is leading it. That is just absolutely crazy. I'm not going to find it right now. Oh, here we go. 31 bags over 25. 10th place, 28.40. Like, that's pretty good. I mean, you're in day one. 10th place is 28.40. First place is 38.34. 10th place is already 10 pounds back. Now, it is Clear Lake. Their blast off switch around. I mean, you could pick up that 10 pounds pretty quick. But if that Micah Jones is on it, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard to get. I mean, if you look at the top 20 of Clear Lake, there is a lot of big names that are in there that are stacking them. Joe Roscoe, Bass Union, is sitting in 26th place with 25.45. Can you imagine having 25 pound sack and being like, hey, you're in 26th place with 25.5 pounds? That's just ridiculous. Anyways, yeah, Corey, best lake in the country, definitely. And Kurgan checking in also. So the premise of today's video is why it's titled Fishing Confessional. Basically, I had a train wreck of a weekend this last weekend, but I learned so much from that train wreck. And I just want to kind of recap like where I went wrong, where I did right. Getsy checking in also. I fished with Big John. Big John wasn't any of the problem. It was all 100% right here that was the issue. But I figured this is a good learning tool for everyone. Something that I could just get on here, mouth bleed, get it going. I do want to start off with why I enjoy tournament fishing. Okay, so I'm not going against the other boaters that are out there, right? Like, I'm going against the fish. Everyone's technically against the fish anyways, but like, I'm not the kind of person that like, oh, I want to beat so and so, I want to beat this. Like, yeah, there's those benchmarks of like, I want to be better than them or try to be better than them to like reach those benchmarks. But a lot of that for me is actually to know like I can get that bite. Like, I can actually figure out the best bite of that day. And that is, I'll obviously, as of this weekend. Not something that you can always do, right? Like you always want to struggle for it. You always want to run with it. So basically, it's just me against the fish. And a lot of the best way to judge that is to get into a friendly competition. So in the middle of that friendly competition, you come back in with your bag and you can find out like, hey, half the field, a quarter of the field, 2/3 of the field, like you can see how many sections of the field, like percentage of the field, outfished you and was able to get that better bite than you were. So it can kind of help you gauge. And then you start that afternoon or that night, you recap on the way home. What should I have done different? What should we have done this? What should we have done that? What clues did I miss? What part should I like? It helps you build yourself as a fisherman to be able to progress and grow. So that's why I do tournament fishing. And then I don't need to win. Like I'm okay with not winning. If I get top 4, I'm golden with that. Like I'm not upset that I didn't win. If I'm in top 4, if I'm in the mid pack at the end of the weekend, I mean, it starts this video, but really, it makes me feel like I definitely could have done better. And it makes me want to drive, and it actually like puts a fire under me to go. Like it makes me want to dig in harder and go for it. Can you be in the middle? Yeah, absolutely. Can you be all the way at the bottom? Absolutely. Everybody has those weekends in them. That's just the way it is. That's not like it's not a negative thing. It is what it is thing. And it just puts that little bit of fire into me. And if I get beat, that lets me know that I didn't figure out that bite. Like I missed the bite. I missed the clues. I missed all of those things. I'm happy for everyone who caught them better than me. Like that's badass. Like Brian got 3rd this weekend. That's awesome. Brian Getzey got 1st place both days, 20 pounds, backs it up with 23 pounds. Friggin' awesome. You know, like just, it's awesome to see your fellow competitors do really well, even if you don't. Like I mean, that's the camaraderie of it, right? Like that's the whole point of the club in general. Sorry, I'm looking at notes in case you guys are curious why I keep looking down, looking at my phone notes. I don't have this big redheaded dude sitting next to me to keep things firing while I'm in between. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to let them go on there, ask them, do that as I'm rambling. Again, like I said, with the he says Colin says I look lonely. Big John says even though we had a rough weekend, he learned a lot watching me fish. Big John and I are different styles. I don't even have that in my notes because I wasn't even going to get into any of that stuff. We're different styles, and it makes the team fishing part, like it makes me be more mindful of what I do. And it at like, no matter what, even if you're different styles or not, you still learn from it. And that's, I guess part of it is in here from still learning. One of the reasons why I fish club level is because you get to learn and know your competitors. So part of that would be one competitor likes to flip jigs, throw A-rigs, throw a Cinco, whatever it is, right? When you come back for the day, you get to see like, hey, that guy did really good and he threw Cincos, right? Like that person's really good at Cincos. And they're able to tell what other bites are going because you know them on a personal level enough to know what baits they tend to throw more than others. And then you run into them enough times on the water and you kind of know what kind of areas they fish. So it can kind of help you learn a little bit more if you pay attention. Can you go catch their fish? Probably not. But at least you know, like, hey, that area has active fish at that time, and you can like kind of help grow patterns in that style, and adapt it to your own. You don't have to do it their way. You can definitely catch fish in your style. You just need active fish, realistically. Um, and like I said, the camaraderie, like to, giving hugs at the weigh-in or handshakes or fist bumps or laughing, joking, BSing, all that stuff. I know there was a group of people this weekend who camped up there. So they're, sharing food and laughing, drinking some brewskis or baits. That camping part really like helps that camaraderie come together, makes you realize like, hey, this isn't, although fishing alone has a lot of solo to it, like a lot of like, I mean, I guess you're in a team, right? But a lot of like compartmentalized, you're not fully in developed and all that, or you're not in a large group like a soccer team or a football team or any of that stuff. It lets you remember that you're not in it alone when you come back to the weigh-in, when you go to the meetings, when you later on get a phone call the next day and you talk about it, stuff like that. Rachel says, what happens when you want to learn but no one will take you out, but only after 10 a.m.? Well, I think that's the problem. You got to go before 10 a.m., especially with the summer coming up. That bite closes at about 10, kind of reopens at noon to 1-ish if you get lucky, depending on the day. And then it doesn't restart again until like the last 2 hours of the day. This is dead summer at least. So you got to have some sacrifices to learn. Yeah, she says too early for being there at sunrise. Like I said, so we'll kind of get into the actual like the weekend, like kind of where my mind frame was and where my mindset was and what I've learned. Okay, so like I said, it was my worst performance in a long time. We had 20 boats on Saturday, 16 boats on Sunday, 21 total teams for the final tally, and I was 11th place. Not horrible. I mean, that's mid-pack. But that also means that 20 or 10 teams did better than me, meaning that I did not get the right bites. I did get some bites that came undone. Not even going to talk about those because technically if I was doing it right, they would have all landed in the boat. You can't lose fish and do well in a tournament. That's just the way it is. Everybody's too good in the club that you can't dump fish. I had absolutely every clue I needed. Looking back on it and kind of putting it together the back half of Sunday, I was able to look back Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, and realize I had every clue I needed, and I just was too stubborn to pick up on those clues. So when it comes to that, right, that all comes down to having an open mind. You can ask Big John. I definitely had a closed mind. We kept fishing the same spots over and over and over again. I kept running to the same spots. Why did I run to those same spots? Because there was giants on them, and I mean giants. It's the old saying, right? I was on big fish, they just didn't bite. Yep, I got caught doing it. Literally a week ago today, we're doing choose it or lose it, and the very last one is, do you fish a pattern or do you fish spots? And I talked about how if you fish spots versus a pattern, it's not good. 3 days later, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 days later, I fished spots, not pattern. And it got me. Yes, if those fish fired, epic day. Like the smallest fish off down there was 5 pounds. I did get one to go end of day, or we got one to go on Friday in practice. It was a 480 something. And then we got one to go that was one of the smaller ones to go at the end of the day, and it was like a 4.5 or something like that. The right size was all there. The bite wasn't there. Who cares how big the fish are if they don't bite? You got to move from them, and I did not at all. So if you're going to learn anything from all of this, who cares if you're on the winning fish? Technically, the winning fish are the ones that bite, not the ones you see, not the ones you look at. Same as bed fishing, right? I knew on Sunday that there's no way that bed fishing would win. Still ended up bed fishing afterwards just to try and fill a limit, and they were all small. John reminded me, hey, let's go. We're not doing anything here. We're not going to call up anything. Pulled my head out, was like, okay, let's go. Yeah, you're right. Let's go. After I was stubborn and went down the bank another quarter mile before I finally left. John was trying to pull me out of it the entire weekend. Definitely wasn't him. It was me on all of that, right? In that had every clue. Back half of the day on Sunday, saw it easily double digit. Easily, no questions about it. Thought it was a catfish in the beginning. That's how big it was. And that's when I realized 100%, besides seeing a couple of large fish come up on glide or nip my glide, that I messed up. We've been fishing the wrong areas the entire weekend. Was not. So what we were fishing was offshore humps, main lake points. Great. They were stacked on there on Friday. One of the spots dropped the scope in the water. There was 10, 15 giant bass down there. And just cruising around, all active, didn't even make a cast on them. Didn't even want to try and trigger one. Move to another spot, find another like group of 10. I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Had another spot, didn't even go check it because I was that confident it had fish on it. Saturday rolls around, weather changes, we go to bright, sunny skies, they're all pushing to the bank. Those groups are gone. I didn't adapt. I didn't try and relocate them. I didn't even attempt to relocate them. That's another mistake. Try to relocate them. Move on. You've already seen they're completely different. Why did I not move? I thought, well, it's just a timing window. If I threw a bait over the top of it, I could see a couple rise up on the bait. Not commit, but rise up on it, and they're all giants. Okay, maybe there's 5 more you can't see sucked to the bottom, and I'm sitting on a 25 to 30 bag. Maybe. Kept trying. There was different times. Maybe I need wind. Maybe I need clouds. Maybe I need like what combination there are. And then that's what I was doing is whenever the conditions would change or would move to a new spot, we would go back and I would try. The whole time I'm thinking, I just need wind and clouds. Finally on Sunday, midday, wind and clouds comes. I roll into this spot thinking we are going to get them. I'm so excited. They cared less than they did at any other time through the entire weekend. It didn't matter what bait I threw. They didn't even care. Like, they wanted it to be slick, sunny, clear water, and they were trout eaters. That basically makes me go, okay, maybe I'm wrong about these trout eaters. Like, they think different. You keep hearing the magazines telling you, hey, you need wind to break up that sun. You need clouds so they can't see it as well. I will tell you right now, I'll even grab the bait. This bait right here, I threw this over one of these humps. This is just a shine glide. It landed in the water. It didn't even sink 2 feet. And the fish at 35 foot, because they were deep, bottle rocketed up at this thing when it was only 2 foot down from the surface. And it got to 5 before I started working it. Maybe shouldn't have waited as long on that one, but started working it, and then they turned on it and went back down. So you're telling me this 7-inch bait slaps the water probably, let's see, that'd be, I'm trying to think of my graph of how far it was. We're probably 20 to 25 feet away from where that fish was. And it was in 35 foot, and this was at 30. So a 30-foot rise, and they went 20 to 25 foot away from where they are to come after this bait at 2 foot under the water. Bright blue sunny skies, no wind. Maybe we're wrong about how they eat, or maybe I'm wrong, I should say. Maybe I'm wrong and the magazines are wrong. That was eye-opening for me. Where they're coming up 2 at a time on this, but still choking up right before they eat. And that's what kept giving me the hope to keep going back and keep doing that. Tough. Like, it's really hard to leave that caliber of fish when they're doing that to baits. Champ asked, where's the other half of the fishing team? The other half of the fishing team is at work because his schedule got changed. So he's out for the next at least couple weeks, if not until further notice. If you're curious, the double digit I saw was off of Big Island in a cove, small cove outside of Big Island. To give any clue. So, talking about clues and talking about missing clues. Okay. So we already talked a little bit about, we went into the hump and they're stacked up on the hump. Come back to the hump and they're gone. The one with the most amount of fish that was on it Friday, I don't know where they go. I've tried finding it before. I'm not sure where their bedding fish area would be unless they cover water. Can they cover water? Absolutely. I think they're a lot more nomadic than people think they are, or that they get credit for. They had to have been cruising. There is not really a spawning area in that area. I mean, there is spots they could spawn, but not like an ideal spawning area, like the typical conventional one that you would see in magazines. Tried tracking those down, found nothing but small ones. Not sure where they went. That was the only group that I actually tried looking for, and I didn't look overly hard. I tried going to the closest point and then going in the bank. That was as far as I went. I didn't even try growing it outside of that. The other clues that I missed. If I went to the back of one of the coves that was near one of the humps, there's bedfish inside there. Like, actually, yeah, on Saturday they were locked on. They weren't quite locked on Friday, but they had beds made in the back of the coves. Why did I not fish anything in between the two? Like, I know there's beds here and I know there's giants here. The giants are gone. Why did I not move towards them? Why did I not go, especially with how much the weather changed? Why did I not go all the way to the beds and start coming back the other way? They had to go somewhere. They're not going to disappear back into the depths when it's time to go, when it's starting to get ready to go. I had 2 links on there and I didn't even try to connect the dots. I kind of did a little bit, but I didn't fully press it. Like I went into, there's like a grass pocket that's inside there. Tried going in there, throwing a glide bait over the top. Got 0 reaction besides a bunch of little ones, but didn't try messing with any of the points in between. Meanwhile, casting drop shot, every little point that came out along the way, I was catching 1 1/4 pounders at each one of those little points and never thought, what happens if you go deeper? What happens if you throw a different bait than drop shot? What happens if you throw a swim bait over the top of them? Can I get something that's on the bottom to suck up to it and show itself, to kind of give me a thought? None of that went through my head. Normally it would. This time, definitely did not. I was not open-minded, like I said before. But that main thing was that Friday. Okay, so Friday, there's kind of fresh beds. You kind of like, you could see areas that almost looked like something was starting to make a bed, but there was no actual bed there. Like it just kind of looks like it was swept up a little bit. Saturdays, you're going down the bank. You could see beds and then random fish. Sunday, you're going down the bank. There's one locked. There's one locked. There's one locked. Like that's how fast they were pushing up. That's how fast they were moving in. But it took until Sunday afternoon before I realized, hey, if the males are pushing up, why wouldn't the females be right behind it? Like what would be the point of that? Like how did you not think of those things? Where did I find them? Actually, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to the where I found them in the end, which they'll be farther along now, but the next wave will definitely be in that area by this time, especially this weekend. Back to the open mind part, okay? Like I said, I was trying to find timing windows with those offshore fish. Realistically, that timing window could have been at midnight, could have been at 2 a.m., could have been all of these other areas. Could have not even been within the tournament hours at all. Get says big girls were staging and waiting. He would know. He weighed in basically 2 8s on, or close to 8s on Sunday, and a 8 and a 7 or something, 8 and a 6 or something like that on Saturday. I mean, that's where they're going to be, right? But I basically, so I'm going for the tunnel vision of all of this. And I just kept going back to the same spots, not fishing patterns, fishing spots. And I just had tunnel vision for all of it. You can't be successful in tournaments or even in the day if you have tunnel vision. You're forcing that bite. I've been bit by forcing the bite before. I'm going to get bit by forcing the bite again. You just can't. You have to fish free. And the previous, I'd say probably 4 or 5 tournaments, I've been fishing free, where my basic plan is I'm going to go check this area and check this area. No baits, no tactics, no nothing. I'm going to try this, this, and this. I didn't have that. It was, I'm going to throw this, I'm going to throw this, and I'm going to throw this. And I'm going to catch them. Life doesn't work like that. That's not how it goes. If you learn anything from my mistakes, don't do that. Go in saying, I'm going to fish this area I don't know where the fish are. Are they going to be high? They're going to be low? They're going to be stuck to the bottom? They're going to be able to eat up? Are they going to be eaten down? All of the fish that I ran across are all eating up. They were all looking up, basically. So the best baits that were possible, right? Throwing an eco rig as it's dropping down. But here's the funny thing about that deep offshore stuff. Once it got between 5 to 10 foot of the bottom, they turned and left. They didn't follow it all the way down. Normally, in the past, they follow it all the way down. You give it an extra little bit of time, and they suck it up, swim off with it. They weren't following it that last 5 foot. So when you don't have that last 5 foot, I didn't adapt. I didn't think about, hey, maybe I should stop throwing a bottom bait. They're all eating up, but they're all looking up. I threw so many different baits that I could think of that stayed in that upper column. The only time I ever got a hard trigger was with scope bait. Saturday afternoon, completely messed up the hook set. 100% my fault. Was a really big one. And then I thought, okay. And then I had another fish actually ate it on the way down. Like I cast it out, went to do something in the boat, came back, or like I looked up and my line's moving and I was like, oh, I know what that means. Checked it, set the hook. Right? Cool. One followed it down, and then a couple casts later, one floats up on it and actually eats. Bite window's open. I can't trigger any of the other fish that are in that area. They're not going to fully trigger. Said, let's go to another spot. Go to the other spot. They aren't having it. Not working. So like that window, I either caught the back half of that window or the window just was only spot located. Either way, probably should have left all of those alone and moved on. So back to the open mind part, okay? I knew I was beating my head into a wall. In fact, I think I even almost literally said those words. Enough where like I laid on the deck and was like trying to get my brain clean, like relax, flush my brain out. And I was laying on the deck like just completely arms out, laying on the deck, trying to figure it out, getting mad, basically, but never stopping, never reevaluating things, just getting mad because those fish won't eat. Again, the best fish are the ones that eat. So that brings me to one of my rules that I have. For those of you who know, I'm a mechanic by trade. And I have a rule when I am trying to fix something and I can't figure out how to fix it. Okay? The rule is, if I cannot figure out what is wrong with it within the first hour, start over, I missed it. Just forget everything that you know, start from scratch. I missed what it goes. Okay? Fishing, 1 hour is a little harder to do that gap. But if you get 2 hours, 3 hours into it, and you aren't picking up clues, that means I usually am able to stop myself, refresh, start over. Where do I need to go? What's the seasonal patterns? What's the tactics? What dock talk have they talked about, right? Sometimes dock talk is good. Most of the time it's bad. But at least start over. Like, you missed it. You obviously. And if I would have done that on Saturday, halfway through the day, and started over, I probably wouldn't have been able to figure out enough to put something together for Sunday. And in the past, I've done that with tournaments where I come in Friday, I'm completely clueless. Saturday, halfway through it, I figure it out because I've scrapped enough things. And then Sunday I come out and I'm like, okay, this is what they're doing. This is where they came from. They may change to Sunday, but at least I know where they were coming from the day before to pick up where I left off, to like build the blocks along the way, right? I didn't do the whole scrap thing until halfway through Sunday. That's a really long time. Friday, I thought I had it figured out. Saturday was completely told wrong, or that I didn't have it figured out. And it took me halfway through Sunday. So that's a day and a half that I should have started over. Or gone to the bedfish, worked back, or started where I was and worked in. So seasonal movements, right? They're starting on the offshore humps, the main lake points, or whatever it is. And then they're slowly sliding up from the depths. And they're going back into their spawning flats, spawning areas, spawning trees, spawning whatever. Okay, that's where they're heading at that time. There's food along the way, bait fish, trout, whatever. Perfect. That's why those main lake humps are so good, or humps and points are so good, is that trout swim by that. Especially if you go to an area where there's tons of trout boats doing circles, laps out there. Maybe go to that area, especially since you were on an area that you know they were eating trout, because they're coming up on a glide bait that's 2 foot under the water. There's no other big bait or no other big fish that's in that water that's not a trout they're going to do that with, right? So you know they're eating trout. Why not go where the trout fishermen are and try and figure out where's the closest area that they're going to be there, and then work your way towards bed fishing? I don't know why I didn't think of this. Seems obvious. You say it, it sounds conventional. Sounds like something you'd see in a magazine. Why didn't I think of it this weekend? I did think of it. It was just Sunday night. Or Sunday afternoon, Sunday. Is when I said, okay, I'm going to pick up a glide bait, because I was getting a reaction on this. I'm going to pick up a glide bait. I'm going to start burning bank. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go that way towards spawning flats. Ended up changing baits to a River Sea 168 Party Crasher color, and immediately started seeing hard triggers on that bait. Weren't quite eating it yet, but I was pulling up big fish on main points. Then go in towards the pocket, and then they slowly became smaller and smaller and smaller until they're all like 1 pound bucks on the inside. And I said, okay, I learned something. Turn around, go back out to where I last saw the last big fish. Turn around, go to there, and then start working the other way, going out towards main lake points. Go 1 or 2 more points. No, the next major point after where I saw that big fish. Cast my glide bait out there, watching it on scope. One rockets up, chokes up right before I give it a twitch. Bam! I saw it on scope. So I swung immediately. As soon as I felt that twitch, I swung, ripped it right out of its face. Did I need to wait, reel into him? Absolutely. Screwed up that bite. That one followed me all the way to the boat. Probably a 5 to 6 pound spot. Just giant spot. Would have been my PB spot. Hands down. Messed up the bite. But still got the right bite, right? Was able to find the right bite. Was able to pull my head out and get back to where I needed to go. Continue working all the way down to the main lake point to find out that's not where they were. They were in that section, that like last point before the spawning bay. Wherever that last big point is, that's where they were. Then thought, hey, one of my offshore humps is one of the last spots before that spawning bay. Ran over to that spot. As I dropped my dropped my trolling motor into the water, there's 4 or 5 giant blobs sitting off the end of this thing. And once they realized we're there, they kind of sucked down a little bit, right? Like they They know there's a boat in the area. They suck down, but that let me know they're here. Throw a glide over the top of it, they don't care. They barely kind of rise on it. That's not the style they're at. Probably only made like 2 casts with that glide. Put that down, pick up a Nico rig, I think. I'm not sure what I picked up next, but I picked up something else next. Throw that out there. Nothing. And then I said, crap, and then I looked, and they're no longer on the top of this hump. They're down off the sides. So I pick up a drop shot with the good old Sorry Steve, huck it across the top, go to the edge of that point, and then just pull it off the edge, let it drop, dead stick. Pull it off the edge, let it drop, dead stick. Boom, pick up a 4-pounder. 10 minutes left in the day. Can't do anything more about it. But it made me feel better about the fact that I finally pulled my head out of my arse. Finally put something together to where I could actually not predict the bite, but cause a bite, trigger a bite. Finally got my head clear enough on the back half of the day that I could actually do something. Just didn't have enough time. Just pure and simple, didn't have time. Did I learn so much? I think I learned more from this weekend and being a struggle fest than I think I've learned in the last 5 tournaments together. Maybe 4 tournaments together. Since, I guess it wouldn't be. I guess it'd be months. It'd be November, December, January, February, March, right? Like those months, I learned so much more in this weekend than that previous. Like those struggles just teach you so much more, especially when you look back and reflect on it. That's why this one's called Confessionals, is because that's just the way it all is. Paul asks, are you and John fishing similar baits, or was John throwing something completely different? John was throwing drop shot, Carolina rig. When I was throwing the glide at the end of the day, Sunday, he picked up a rig. But John had the bottom fish completely covered, picked up some fish doing that along the way while I was struggling. He was still getting bit. But when you're trying to learn in the team atmosphere, you don't want the same people throwing the same baits. You want it to be mixed up. If I'm mid column, somebody's low column. If I'm low column, somebody else is mid column. You want to mix it all up. Or one's throwing drop shot, one's throwing Carolina rig. One's suspended a little bit off the bottom, one's on the bottom. One's throwing Morning Dawn, one's throwing Margaret and Mutilator. Like, you always want to have different baits in the water so you can try and figure it out. Our main problem was we're on dead water. I say dead loosely. The right fish are there, but they're also the wrong fish that were there. We're fishing dead water. If we turn around and do that and take that to an area where there's more active, more pushing fish, more flow of fish, more waves of fish, we would have been far, far more successful. Would we have had big bags? Who knows? A lot of people said how many fish they caught. They just couldn't catch big ones. We weren't even catching fish at all, small ones or big ones. Like, we struggled. But again, I go towards those bucks. I got 2 of those bucks to eat a glide. Just, it's really hard to get a 1-pounder to get a 168 in its mouth good enough that you could hook it. I got one in the bottom lip, and then it just pulled out. But the other one, like, straight headshot it, but its mouth couldn't really like get the front hook. I watched the front hook kind of like get blasted by the mouth, and then it just didn't like hook under the chin or anything like that. It just kind of bobbled free. That's just glide bait fishing. Kind of just what it is. They take headshots on that thing, and it's really hard with that line and that headshot. That like the line itself will push the bait back out. So if you don't let them eat it all the way, and you pull it too quick, and it doesn't position in their mouth, you're actually backing the bait out of its mouth and like using the line as leverage in its mouth. You have to kind of let them turn so that the line can go into one of the corners so it'll pull across its mouth instead of out of its mouth. That's my basic theory of what I think is happening down there. And I've seen enough visual glide bait bites that I kind of know that's kind of what you got to do is wait that half a second. The small ones, we didn't even, it wasn't going to help our limit those ones. So I'm not overly upset about those. I was just happy I triggered the bite at all. And that gave me the confidence to go turn around and throw that in a better area that technically would have worked if I didn't screw it up. Does anybody have any questions besides what's already been on there? I don't think I skipped any. Rambled for a while. Yeah, so going back to Getsy's, big girls were staging and waiting. That's where I messed up. I didn't go find their stage point. I thought on the end of that hump was their stage point. No, that's just stop one in their pull up. But my mind was thinking completely different. And thinking about it, any one of those humps is quarter mile. We'll just say quarter mile. Might be less. 1/8 mile to quarter mile away from a staging or away from a spawning area. With that weather change like that, they're not staying a quarter mile away. Like they're gonna pull up to the place where it's about to go down. You know, they're not gonna stay back when the concert's going on up there. They're not gonna go up to they're not gonna stay away from the stage and stay in the parking lot. They're gonna start getting in the arena. They're gonna start checking out where the concert's going, right? As far as this weekend, they're already at the concert. I guarantee that one. If they were hard locked on Sunday at certain areas, they're in full effect. It was in the 80s today. I guarantee you that water is warm enough. A lot of the fish that I saw were smallmouth on beds in some of the areas. I bet you those are largemouth now. Like the smallmouth might even be done and gone in a couple of days. And now the largemouth are pulled up in there or starting to pull up in there. Do not doubt that one bit. As far as what to do this weekend, if you want to bed fish, if you are a bed fishing person, go for it. Knock it out. There's going to be a lot to choose from. You can at least catch a lot of fish. There's probably going to be some big girls if you cruise enough of the bank to find them. There's probably going to be some out there nosing around and getting pushed around. But don't get an area stuck in your head. Keep an open mind. Work forwards and backwards. Pay attention to your seasonal patterns. Don't worry about timing windows this time of the year. Yes, timing windows can help, but I mean, you're gonna have to turn it around, right? Like, there's fish biting at all times out there. Sometimes they're better than others for certain ones, but who knows, right? But basically, go and have fun. I had fun this weekend because I was hanging out with John. But as far as tournament-wise, it wasn't overly fun. I should just change this to air quotes all day. um, it wasn't overly fun. Like, it just wasn't. Just because I was struggling, beating my head into the ground because I didn't keep an open head. Getsy says, let's go this weekend. All right, Getsy, tell me which day, Saturday or Sunday. Let me know which day. And then we'll go. I think that's, let's see, Vic and I went to Berryessa today, caught between 49, 50 fish. Yeah, I do not doubt that one bit. And it probably was really nice and really fun to do. Fun fact, I almost called in sick today. And that was to go fishing, just because I looked at the weather and I was like, might go. I didn't. I was a responsible adult. I went to work. But now's the time to go to Berryessa. The video that dropped today is a recap from this last weekend. And it is not doing very well because not many people are fishing Berryessa. Great news is not many people are fishing Berryessa. So you can get a lot of untouched bedfish. You can get a lot of untouched areas. Some of the community holes are not so untouched, but there's definitely back areas that you can get to where you can roll up on a fish on a bed and like two flip it enough where one of them I cast it onto its bed, or I was kind of working on two different bedfish at the same time. Caught one. I was doing that. I went to turn off my electronics and I was going to do something else. I just threw onto the bed and then go down and do that. And then I like look up, my line's moving and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you don't have to work for them very hard when they have way less pressure. I will say you probably want to stay away from anything that's accessible via bank. There is a ton of people out there just going down the bank, picking them off, throwing them in buckets. So they're not putting them back on. There are some that put them back on, but there are people who are not putting them back on. They're keeping them, eating them for lunch, which is fine. That's the cycle of life. That lets the big fish get even bigger. So that's pretty much it. I've been rambling for 50 something minutes. So I'm going to go find some food. Did my local little watering hole place food and eat myself a chicken sandwich. If you guys have any questions, you can ask them down below in the comments. Always hit me up on Instagram. I thank each and every one of you guys for watching and listening to my confessional or TED Talk. Not really sure what to call it. Oh, by the way, Getsy came up with far better names than Fishing Confessional or Confessional. But when I went to make the thumbnail, I completely forgot of him. He came up with Chasing the Bite, Adapting to Changes, Constantly Moving Fish, and Timing on Transition Fish. All amazing titles. This just couldn't remember at 10 o'clock last night. So we came up with Fishing Confessionals episode 1. Hopefully won't ever be a episode 2, but it's fishing. It's going to happen. So that's pretty much it. And until next time, I hope you get them.